Could you ever imagined when you won the Australian Open last year that this year would be so wonderful for you?
I think after the Sunday round here, I really felt like it was a very special round that was going to do something for me. No, I didn't think it would launch to the type of year that we had, because each piece needed to kind of come together to get a bit more comfortable in the bigger situations. But I learned how to really close here with my head. I had my game. I knew I could do it. I was tied for the lead, I think, with a few other guys entering the final round, and with Scotty right there, obviously a winner and a major champion, and really just stayed very patient and played one of the best rounds I've ever played in my life when I really needed it, and went on to the next week to I felt like play the best golf I've ever played over a 4-day stretch at Tiger's event, and then gain that momentum and really have that really mental edge come the weekend that I really could close the deal. I've had it kind of my whole life, and then I lost it for a bit there on tour. It was just a bit of a learning curve, and this tournament I feel like really launched that side of my game, and I was certainly working on it and trying to find something, and you just need to be in position enough to have enough tries to find a solution, and we finally did, and it's really nice to be back. I love Australia. It's my favorite place I've ever traveled to play golf, and the city of Sydney is just one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and the hotel we're at is fantastic, and really have a great time this week. Great food, great golf course, and I'm very pleased. It was a no-brainer coming back.
Tell us something about how you've managed your time. There's so many more demands on your time this year. So
I've said no a lot, mainly. I've got great management who likes to say no and reflect what I'm saying, but I don't have to be the bad guy. You just can't, you just can't. You don't have enough time, and if you want to live your life and not become, just like a corporate robot, you have to leave time for yourself, and I think we've done a great job of balancing that, and it's certainly been difficult. There's certainly been adjustments over this last year, and but I felt like we've done a pretty good job of it, of trying to give enough time to people that we feel are the right people, and then also having enough time to be me, to have enough time to practice, to get what I want to get done, and do what I love to do, which is play golf, and yeah, I mean it certainly is something that has changed, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Can I have some questions from the floor, please?
Jordan, from the outside, it seems like only yesterday we saw you tee up as a 16-year-old on an invite, I think at the Byron Nelson. Really only seems like yesterday you were sitting in that chair with the trophy in front. How's it felt from your side? Does it feel like all this has happened very quickly? I mean, we know you're young and you hear it ad nauseum, but what's your sense of it been?
I think if I really look back, I've got so many great memories from every single week that I've played on tour, and so it feels like forever ago that it was 16 at the Byron. Some weeks feel like yesterday, some feel like a long time ago, but we've had so many great memories. We've been able to almost make the days last longer than they should by not only playing and practicing at certain tournaments, but getting to explore the cities and restaurants and getting to do fun things, and that's what I love to do. I mean, at this point, I'm in a position I don't take for granted. I feel blessed, but at the same time, I can now do what I love to do, which is travel the world and to see some of the coolest cities and restaurants and landmarks that you only read about or see in movies or whatever it is. And with that, I would say that it seems like even earlier this year was a long time ago. And I'm ready for next season and trying to continue that trend.
Jordan, Peter Senior was just in here and saying that his win on the weekend should inspire anyone that's 25 to 30-odd years of age on the tour, that at 56 you can still win. Considering that you've achieved so much at 22, what's going to drive you and inspire you for the next 34 years until you're 56?
I've said it before. I think when I'm 56, I may be on a beach somewhere where nobody knows where I am. But yeah, it was really inspiring. I thought it was fantastic. What what a great win, and I was able to watch a lot of it, the finish of the tournament, and Bryson DeChambeau, a friend of mine, coming, I think, runner-up as an amateur, which is really cool as well. So you got a young amateur. Bryson must be 20, 21 years old. And then Peter Sr. Battling. It just speaks to golf, and I think it's so cool that can happen in our sport. And it's definitely an inspiring story that you can play this great game for so long. You can't do that really in any other sport. And moments like what happened last weekend very, very rarely come around. You think of Tom Watson at the Open Championship and a few other times. So when it happens, you want to embrace it and recognize the sport you play and how special it is.
Jordan asked Rory the same thing 12 months ago. 22-year-old, do you ever just feel like cutting loose and just being a 22-year-old, or are you not allowed to because you're Jordan Spieth Inc., so to speak?
You certainly can, yeah. When I take my hat off, I'm less recognizable. People normally know you as the Under Armour hat guy. So I can go out and explore, and it really depends on where you are. But especially over here, if I'm just somewhere in the city, I mean, I've been able to go out and have no issues as far as, being a bother. You get recognized here or there. Someone wants a picture. I certainly embrace that. I think it's cool that you can be recognized around the world, and people are fans of what you do. And if people say, good job, keep up the great work, it makes you feel really good. It makes you feel like you're doing things right. And we get that sometimes, but I can certainly go out and, whether it's go out on the water or just, have a beer at the what do you call it?
A pub. That's what it's called.
Well,
it's
no,
called a pub.
yeah, it's called a pub. I'm thinking of where am I staying?
The Darling.
Yeah, in Darling Harbor there.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you can do it without much bother, and I enjoy it.
Jamie.
You didn't tee it up at the Masters on the weekend, but you were in Melbourne. Can you tell us about playing those courses down there, and was it always a dream of yours to play courses like Royal Melbourne and Kingston Heath?
Yeah, it was certainly one of the last couple of places on the bucket list to play golf, and we had a great time. We got in, Friday afternoon, and went out and got to play Kingston and Capital Club and Royal, and man, how unique all of them are to each other, and how great they all are in their own mind, and really enjoyed them. I mean, many people have already asked me to rank them, and certainly can't do that for you because it won't go over well. But they're all so incredible in their own right, and it was definitely a bucket list thing to do. I've got still the Long Island courses of Shinnecock and National, Sabonic, and those tracks I have not played, and that's a bucket lister. But taking care of most all of them, or will throughout this next season. And you don't get many opportunities to come over here and be close enough to do that, so I'm glad we did.
Next.
Jordan, with all your success over the last year, has there been a change in dynamic with you and some of the other players on the tour? Like, do you feel like you're more of a marked man now with all the success that you've had?
I don't think so. I think that it's an interesting question because you're talking about even some of the top players on tour now. You've gone from trying to get status to where we are. I built some fantastic relationships, and in this sport of golf, there's no bitter rivalries right now. I mean, we've got a great mix of early mid 20-year-olds that are having no fear in the biggest stages, along with veteran. I mean, look at Zach Johnson this year, winning a majors 8 years apart from each other, I think, at two of the most special places in golf. We just have a great mix of veterans and then young players that it's never been harder to win a tour event. And with that, I don't think the dynamic has changed with me. I think everyone thinks everyone else is such a factor because now on a given week, it seems that anybody can go off for 22, 24 under, and even on a difficult track. So it's harder to win, and I think that takes away from any of the marked backs, I guess, if you would call it.
Next.
Two-part question. You were saying it's good to be back here, obviously. First part, how did last year's win help you, gather momentum in 2015? And has the course changed much? You look today.
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, it did a lot for me mentally. I just felt like even off of one event, I really could. I was certainly good enough to play my best golf in the lead on Sunday, and I hadn't shown that. For the past since being on tour. I kind of squeaked my way into that playoff at the John Deere and with a special shot and kind of got through it. But that was one where I held part of the lead and could play my best golf on Sunday in difficult conditions on a tough track. And so that carried with me. I could draw back on this week, the next week. I didn't know how soon it would be, but it happened to be a Tigers event. And then, come Tampa and some of these other tournaments where I finally got back into the lead with a round to go. And the golf course, I think it's even in better shape this year than it was last year. It's one of the purest, firm golf courses. Typically when it gets firm, it's so hard to keep it so well manicured. And there's not a blade of grass out of place on these greens. They're spectacular. And they're a bit on the slower side right now, I think trying to save up for when they bake out. And we know they're going to get a couple feet faster. And in the wind, they're going to be very tricky. So I wouldn't, given the forecast, if the breeze is up, I wouldn't expect scores to be much lower than last year, even with a couple par 3 tee boxes further up. Normally you see change in tee boxes is going back. There's really only one, I think, that makes 16 is further back, and a couple par 3s we're going to play further up, which make them, I think, better par 3s. So the course is set up spectacular. I mean, they've done just a fabulous job here at the Australian.
Next.
Adam Scott hasn't won a title this year so far. How desperate do you think he'll be to end the year off with a win the next few weeks, and especially at home?
I think he's the guy to beat this week. He had it last week, and he just had an off day in the wind, I think, on Saturday. He comes into a place that he's obviously comfortable with. He's played well here. He's had good rounds, and he's fresh, and he's off of probably got a bit of a chip on his shoulder too, off of last week, and especially being back home and everyone saying you haven't won since Colonial 2014. I guarantee you he doesn't like hearing that, and so he's going to go about trying to change that. And I think he's the guy to beat this week, and I'd like to give him a charge.
Any more questions?
Jordan,
Bernie.
when you sit here and you look back to the start of 2016 when you set your goals, have you surprised yourself in terms of what you have achieved in 2016? And when you sort of sit down to set your goals for the new year, do you sort of raise the bar in terms of your goal setting? I meant your goals for 2015, sorry.
I don't know if we'll actually raise the bar on what we accomplished in 2015. I don't know if that's realistic, but it'll be somewhat close to trying to get a little bit better to where we can do what we did in 15, repeat that. Whether it comes in the same tournaments or not, it'll certainly include trying to have multiple wins on tour and really contend and win, at least a major championship. Exactly what Rory's saying. Rory's saying it's an off year if he's not at least getting close or winning a major championship. I don't see why I wouldn't think the same way right now. Again, it's something that we have yet to pick apart. But, it's a bit surprising. I mean, if I had to pick, the 3 most lucrative tournaments for me to win, we happen to win them. That timing's kind of nice. But but that was the plan. I mean, it just came together. In the other majors, we had a chance. I mean, if I could somehow duplicate that year for the rest of my career, I'd be pretty pleased.
Can I ask a quick follow-up question and put you on the spot? What would be your shot of the year?
Shot of the year would maybe be... It'd have to go back to the Masters. Whether it was Saturday's flop shot or it's a shot during... I mean, Saturday's flop shot was key, but it saved me a shot. Sunday on the back 9 is where make it or break it, and I could go back to parring number 11 after taking a 6-shot lead through 10 with that putt on 10 that you just weren't expecting to birdie the hole. You're just trying to coast through 10, 11, 12, and then you've got a couple birdie holes and you're off. Having that I hit a punch 4-iron on 11 and had about a 40-yard pitch up the green after going around number almost by 12 tee box on my second shot. Saving par there when it could have easily been double or worse, and then second shot on 13. So it's really that kind of amen corner stretch at Augusta National on Sunday afternoon, which if you're going to have a memory of it being the best moment of the year, that's a dream come true.
Next.
Jordan, in a similar vein to that question a couple ago, is the fact that your victory here last year was the start of this incredible run. Looking to replicate that, was that a catalyst for coming back and defending this crown?
Certainly a small piece of it, with the fact that I just love this place. I mean, I really do love Oz, and I love this course and the city. But, yeah, I mean, anywhere you can go back where you have great memories is going to not only help you out that week, but it's going to just put good vibes in you going forward. And so I'm definitely looking at these 2 weeks as obviously trying to do exactly what we did last year. I mean, it's going to be very hard to do, but if we can get into contention this week and see how it's going, I feel like my game's on point. I wasn't there in China. I was very rusty and hadn't practiced much. I've really grinded coming into this week since that. And my coach Cameron is here, and when he's here, I feel very confident about what we're doing. We put in the right amount of work, and we always work almost like a major championship, and that's what we've done this week, with still leaving a lot of time to explore a cool place. So what a great mix it's been, and I'm looking forward to trying to do the exact same thing we did last year.
Russell?
Jordan, can I ask you about the Olympics? And it's not a lucrative tournament, but where does that sit on that bucket list?
Oh, yeah, that's just competing in the Olympics, just walking the opening ceremonies and staying in the village and whatever it is, meeting these incredible athletes from around the world will hopefully be. I think we're pretty locked up, but you still never know. So hopefully that's something I'm able to experience this next August. And winning a gold medal has got to be up there now in my mind with a major championship. A lot of people I've been asked the question: green jacket or gold medal, or you Wanamaker or gold medal or Open Championship. That's not fair. I think this year we're going to approach it as a fifth major, and we're going to prepare like it is. And I'm going to go down there and try and take care of business. And it's going to be very difficult. You've got some great Aussies that'll be down there. You've got Englishmen. You've got your own countrymen that you're trying to beat. It's not a team event in golf, I think, unfortunately, but you go down there and approach it like a major.
Jordan, I'm just fascinated by an earlier point where we acknowledge, and you almost yourself acknowledge, that the past year is as good as it gets. So can you give us an insight into your mental preparation, your mental psyche, in how you approach your game of golf now, knowing that maybe the best is behind you, perhaps?
Yeah, you have to approach it believing that you actually can improve. I can go without missing a cut in a year. I can go with playing that consistent of golf the whole year. I think I missed 4 this last year. I like playing the weekends, so there's ways to improve in that. As far as timing wins and your best weeks at the perfect time, and I think we have a formula to do that, but it's not always going to happen. So there's a chance it can all come together, and we could even improve on last year. I believe that. Otherwise, there'd be no point in me setting lofty goals to just settle for something less than what I've already done. I believe that my best is forward. I believe that my prime is ahead of me. I have to believe that, but I do. And sure, if last year happens to be the best year that I ever have when I look back on my career, I hope I had a few that approached it at least. And that's all I can really go for, I guess, is to try and each year find a way that I think I can get just a little bit better and be a better golfer. Doesn't mean that I'll win 3 majors in the year, because a lot has to come together, a lot of luck along with a lot of peaked performance mentally and physically. It's just so hard to win a tournament, let alone a major, but there's a chance.
Jimmy?
To improve.
Jordan, I was going to ask you, on the greens, how far from the cup do you think I can make this putt? Have you got does it everything look makeable on the greens, and I guess that ties into how much confidence you get from the way your putting stroke and your putting game always seems so on?
You know, from about up to 30 feet, I'm looking at a way to make a putt. It depends on the putt. I mean, you can have a 15-footer that you're really just, it can be so tricky that you're just trying to coast with the right speed, and if it falls, it falls. And you can have a 30-footer that doesn't break much, and maybe it's, you know, slightly downhill, and it's a relatively makeable putt. There's a certain range that you go to where the outside influence is enough to where you're not really controlling the outcome of the putt. You can put a good stroke on it. It could miss or make based on the elements. I think that's probably 15 feet plus with a breeze kicking up or this and that. But I'd like to think it's up to 30 feet. I think that I'm still trying to, again, put the right speed on it, but it can go in. And, yeah, this year was fantastic for putting in big stages, and I really found a couple ways to cope mentally with the added pressure, especially on shorter putts and putts that I have a tendency whether to leave the face open or whatnot. And I did part of that by looking at the hole. I did part of it by lining the ball up. It just depended on where it was. I just kind of discovered these techniques on what I felt worked for me on my own. When I line it up, I look at a piece of grass, specific piece of grass just in front of the ball. It works much better than me looking right at the ball when I'm nervous. It's these little things that I've been in enough pressure situations to be able to have trial and error, and you find what works and you go with it. And if you're truly confident with it, then it's a game changer, and that's what we've done. I feel great about my putting, and for me, it just comes down to repetitions, getting comfortable with your alignment, getting comfortable with your speed work, and then from there, if that's all taken care of, you're going to be in a position where you're going to have nerves, and we've got that trigger as well.
Last questions, please.
Jordan, when you've achieved so much so young, you must, maybe it takes an effort to make sure that you set aside time to enjoy it. You were asked last year when you first took possession of the Australian Open trophy if you'd had a look at the names. Has there been a who's done what Jordan's done bingo this year where you've had all the trophies lined up and seen who's got their names on all three apart from you with the Masters, the US Open and the Australian Open? Or how do you go about enjoying having had such extreme success?
No, I don't. I certainly don't do it by lining them up and looking at that. I've got Stonehaven in one room. I've got the jacket in the closet and the U.S. Open in another room. I normally, sometimes I don't even know where they all are. I know the Stonehavens have been in the same place since I moved into the house I'm in, and the U.S. Open, I guess, has been kind of moved around, and I've had to take the jacket with me places, and some of the other trophies and awards. It just depends. But as far as enjoying it, we play to have those trophies in our possession. But for me, it's funny, once they're in my possession, I feel a sense of accomplishment, but no need to flaunt them because the only thing better than one is two. The only thing better than two is three. There's a next one to get or the same one to get again. So I've certainly enjoyed them. I've enjoyed, having the company of friends around and them appreciating the trophies. But for me, when I look at the trophy, it doesn't represent the trophy. It represents kind of the memory of that week. And I think that's the coolest part is we were able to do what we set out to do. And I think about everything on and off the course from those weeks. And they're the ones that stick in my head more than any other tournaments.